cruiserweight or against McAboo. I'm hearing that it's much more likely that he's going to fight JERMALL CHARLO on Cinco de Mayo. There are talks right now for that fight. And if he is going to go to cruiserweight, though, I think it would be a mistake. I mean, look at the cautionary tale of Roy Jones Jr. Jones goes up to heavyweight, beats John Ruiz, wins the heavyweight title, then drops back down to fight Antonio Tarver and gets, he struggles in the first fight and then knocked out in the second fight, and he was never the same. So I don't think you can yo-yo and wait over and over as, Tim would know better than us as a fighter. I think it's dangerous. I think it's risky. And I would right now, in January, still early, but I would look for Canelo right now to probably fight JERMALL CHARLO.
Hey, sign me up for that.
And what's good, family? So we got some more breaking news. Your man's Canelo Alvarez is targeting JERMALL CHARLO for Cinco de Mayo weekend 2022. The breaking news comes from Essentially Sports, and it reads the following. Following his win over Caleb Plantpot, Alvarez has been on the lookout for a next victim. The undisputed super middleweight champion initially eyed up a move to cruiserweight to challenge the WBC cruiserweight champion Ilunga Makabu. However, with Makabu due to make his title defense, plans to step up to that fight did not fall through. Following this, there were a lot of rumours around the grapevine of Alvarez fighting Artur Beterbiev. But with so many options for Alvarez, they were connecting the Mexican pound-for-pound king with every other fighter. In the latest development to this story, ESPN journalist Mike Coppinger gave fans some delightful news. He said, "I'm hearing that it's much more likely Alvarez is going to fight JERMALL CHARLO on Cinco de Mayo. There are talks right now for that fight," Coppinger said on the latest episode of ESPN's show State of Boxing. The two fighters have always shown interest in fighting each other. Before the historic Alvarez vs Plant fight last year, the unbeaten WBC champion called out the winner of the fight. Charlo called out the winner of the fight, and he said, hopefully, whoever the winner is, hopefully we can make a deal, Charlo said on the PBC podcast. He kept mentioning how he wanted a mega deal to further his legacy. At the present, it doesn't get any bigger than fighting the pound-for-pound best in the world during one of Mexico's biggest festivals. This is not the first time the American and the Mexican have made headlines for a potential fight. In December 2021, following Alvarez's crowning as the unified super middleweight champion, Charlo called out Alvarez during the live stream. He said, "I wish I could give you the Alvarez fight for Christmas, but I can't. Stop asking me stupid questions. He doesn't want to fight," said Charlo. However, back in 2019, Golden Boy Promotions president Oscar De La Hoya claimed that Charlo and his team at the PBC declined a fight offer. The proposed fight would have taken place on Cinco de Mayo weekend, a staple in Alvarez's fight dates in the calendar year. Alvarez has fought some of his greatest fights around the time of Cinco de Mayo, from Amir Queen Khan to Billy Ho Saunders. We know Cinco de Mayo weekend is for blockbuster Alvarez fights. So there you go then. Mike Coppinger, Mike Coppinger, he alright as a source. He misses some, he wins some, but listen, I'm quite shocked because I actually thought the Ilunga Makabu fight was locked in. We had the WBC conference thing the other day, or about 2 weeks ago now, and they was, obviously, Mauricio Suleiman was hyping up the fact that Alvarez was going to fight Makabu at cruiserweight. But to be honest with you, when you got the LDBC, everyone's shilling about JERMALL CHARLO, it's about time we got to see that fight. And this will prove really that Alvarez is always supposed to be ducking someone. So if it's JERMALL CHARLO next, let it be JERMALL CHARLO next. Is he going to win? No chance. He's too small. I mean, he's never fought at 168 before. And this is what I was saying. You got all these PBC guys. I mean, there was some allegations last week or some rumours that Charlo and Plant were going to fight. That's what should be happening. You've got Andre at 160. JERMALL CHARLO, he ain't not 168 yet. He hasn't even fought there. Why aren't these guys fighting each other? And then the winner of the second tier dudes then stepping up. Everyone just kind of hangs around fighting bums, waiting for a payday. These guys who haven't beat no one or haven't got a big name themselves should be fighting each other. Look at Benavidez at 168. What's he doing? Just knocking around. In my opinion, Benavidez, Andrade, Charlo, and Plant, they should all have a little tournament, a super series. Maybe DAZN should try and get involved with something like that, although we know that Eddie Hearn has struggled in the past to really get people actually in the ring, or get top quality fights in the ring. I mean, look at Golovkin. Golovkin's been signed with DAZN, and he hasn't had a good fight in 3 years. Unfortunately, I feel like the sport in the last, well, I'm not sure how long, but in the last, certainly decade, the sport's just turned into, there's not a lot of substance, there's not a lot of depth in the quality. You've got people just hanging around the place, not really doing a lot, and then they want a big fight, and they seem to talk a lot and make demands, but there's no real substance, there's no backing up of it. No one's really making their own way in the sport. Everyone is looking for a payday. And really, when you look at I think half of the reason we see such a gap between Alvarez and his opponents is because, unlike his opponents, Alvarez has actually been through the ringer. He's been in there with all of the best, the Golovkins, the Mayweathers. Whether he wins or loses, which, by the way, obviously, he's won all of them apart from Mayweather, he's collected all of that experience. These other guys, they haven't been in there with the Mayweathers and the Golovkins and the top flight guys. They've just been hanging around, fighting D-level fighters. And until someone steps up, and I do feel a bit sorry for Andrade, because Andrade did say a few years ago that he was actually one that brought this up. Andrade said, I think a year or two ago, that we should be, rather than begging for a handout from Alvarez, we should be fighting each other. And again, to be fair to Andrade, I actually believe Andrade's the most deserving, because he actually, number one, said that, and he actually was supposed to fight Billy Joe Saunders. So it's not like he's just talking. Andrade was supposed to fight Billy Joe before the Alvarez fight came through. And obviously, it's almost like Billy Joe got rewarded for popping. That don't make no sense to me. But unfortunately, this is where we find ourselves in the sport. This fight ain't a bad fight, and I can't wait to see, trust me, them LDBC clowns who think Charlo going to do something. Charlo will get popped. I'm trying to think which one it is, because they were both alright. They're both standard fighters, in my opinion. None of them are that. I don't see nothing. I mean, one of them lost, but to be fair, when he lost, he came back, and he looked impressive. He came back how you're supposed to come back. Anthony Joshua should be watching how that Charlo came back. He lost to a guy called Tony something. The Tony guy who beat him, when Charlo came back, he was on his job, and rightfully so. The next fight, the other guy who won, who's still undefeated, I think that might be the one we're talking about, you know. Or maybe not, I'm not sure, but either way, the one who's still undefeated, he went life and death with arguably a knockoff version of Alvarez. If you know what I'm saying. The guy who pushed the undefeated Charlo to the limits and he barely beat him, that guy had a basic Alvarez style. He didn't punch nowhere near as hard, he was nowhere near as aggressive, nowhere near as strong, and trust me, he pushed Charlo all the way to the edge. So it's kind of like, what are we doing here? And this is why I keep saying, I don't know what, and it's not Alvarez's job. It's not Alvarez's job to sit there and say, well, you lot need to fight each other. Although, to be fair, he does have that power, I do believe. And I'm sure he's happy just popping all these virgin cherries. But for the sport's sake, and for his own legacy, I think Alvarez's legacy would be worth more if he was beating people who have beaten people. But again, he's not, he is the daddy, but it's not really his job. But he could do, that's not my point. Because he is the money fight, he could say now to people, listen, Charlo, listen, Plant, listen, Benavidez, if you want this shot, you will only get this shot if and when you beat one of these 5 people. Give these people an incentive. And why is that good for Alvarez? Well, that would then enhance his legacy, because he then goes on to fight the winner of the bunch, who is, at that point, has a lot more hype, and also, it would create bigger pay-per-view fights. It's actually a better business move, because at the moment, every fight Alvarez is in, he seems to be, it's kind of one-sided. He's the only pay-per-view puller. But honestly, think about it. Imagine if you had Andre, Charlo, Benavidez, Plant, all in one big round robin. After 3-4 of them fights, that guy is going to be a pay-per-view draw. He's going to be doing 3, 4, 500 pay-per-views, I'd have thought. Do you know what I'm saying? And then that guy, the winner of them 4, on to fight Alvarez, that there would be a nail biter. Because it creates intrigue. And that's how it used to be. It used to be the champion would fight the number 2 guy, but the number 2 guy had to beat number 3 and number 5. These days, you're fighting the number 1 undisputed champion, and you ain't done squat. You've just been hanging around. Like, what? Seriously, what has Plant done? Nothing. What has Benavidez done? Nothing. What has Charlo done? Nothing. That's the truth. None of them have beat any A-level fighters. And what I call A-level fighters are the names. They're the people like Andre. I shouldn't have to sit here and list the names. We all know who the A guys are. They haven't beat none. And part of it, it's really a shame I've got to put the responsibility on Alvarez, but that seems to be the only way. That seems to be the money is ruling the sport at the moment. But really, the responsibility should lie on the governing bodies. I don't know what they're doing, but then again, the problem is a lot of these guys are champions. They're not. So, which means that the governing bodies can't. Well, they should do, really. The governing body should start working together and start mandating some unification fights. That should be that should be the purpose of belts. To drive mandatories. Not to hang around and, we'll serve you a load of bums to fight. Why aren't they out here? And that's what I said for the longest time. With Deontay Wilder. Anthony Joshua was sending offers to Wilder back in 2017. And I said, why can't the WBC, rather than ordering Ortiz, or even Fury at the time, because Fury didn't have no belts, Ortiz didn't have no belts, Dominic Brazil didn't have no belts, all of which got ordered. Why can't the WBC step in? And rather than ordering them guys, why couldn't they have ordered Deontay Wilder to fight Anthony Joshua? Simple as that. And it works both ways, though. I believe the WBA, WBO and IBF should have done the same to AJ. And that way there is no ducking, yeah? The WBC tells Deontay Wilder, you're going to fight Anthony Joshua, and if you don't work it out, you're getting stripped. And the same should be said for the WBA, IBF, and WBO. If you don't like it, we'll strip you, and we'll move on to the next guy. That fight would have been made. And for me, it's the same with Crawford and Spence. Why aren't the governing bodies stepping up and saying, listen, we want this fight. If you don't like it, Spence, if you want to fight Bumgus, if you want to fight your Dennis Bumgus, then you can go and do that as a voluntary with no belt. Because this is what we're doing now. Mandate the fight. And this whole talk about splits, yeah? Just do it, just do it 50-50 down the middle. Or better yet, put it out to the fans. Let the market, let the fans decide. Or let some, make some sort of system. Or make a system, make the splits based on previous earnings. Yeah? The split should be based on both fighters have to post in their biggest earnings with proof, their biggest payment received, and that's how the split's decided. Simple as that. If you've made 30 million and one guy's made 10 million, then it's 75-25. Simple as that. That's how it should be done on the split side of things. And guess what? If Terence Crawford only made 3 million and Spencer's earned 6 million and Crawford feels like he wants more than 33%, then guess what? He gets stripped. Bottom line. If you don't like it, you get stripped, and see how it works out for you not being a champion. I'm sick of this, the way things are going right now. But anyway, this fight ain't a bad fight. I'm not criticising Alvarez versus Charlo. I'm just looking at the sport from a perfectionist point of view. I think things could be more perfect. But it's a great fight, and trust me, the LDBC are going to be sick after this one. Oh, man, Alvarez ducking. He ducking Charlo. Listen, Charlo going to get his cherry popped. And I just wish he was more battle-tested with these guys I've mentioned earlier. Don't get me wrong, if Charlo was the best of the bunch, maybe he is. I don't know, because he haven't fought. But if he was, then this fight would be a lot more exciting. As I see it, he's going to get his cherry popped some more. Because the Tony Cat who beat him, he ain't robust. Or listen, either way you look at it, I'm not sure which one it is. They're all confusing. Got the same damn name. They look the same. Twin looking asses. I can't tell you which one's which. But listen, the one who got beat by Tony's some skinny, spindly dude. Yeah, he's gonna get washed. Even if it's not him, the other one got roughed up by some Mexican European dude. So he got no hope. Both of these dudes have got no hope. And by the way, they've got no battle testing. They haven't been through the ringer with A-level fighters. They're going to get, and that's why they will get munched on. But here we are. I'll be there to watch it. You best believe that. No doubt.